Hello everyone and welcome back to yet another average review. It seems Christmas came early because I just got done watching the trailer for James Gunn's Superman movie, and no spoilers, but it was nothing short of perfection. And so to celebrate this occasion, I'm going to be reviewing something that I said I'd one day review in one of my earliest videos in this average review series. The DC Universe Classics Power Struggle Superman vs. Parasite 2-pack. And without further ado, let's get into the sculpting and paintwork on these guys, starting out with, of course, the reason we're here, the Man of Steel, the big blue Boy Scout himself, Superman. Now, in terms of the sculpt, Superman is on pretty much the same body as, nearly every male DC Universe Classics figure. Now, I'd like to mention, I'm not complaining about it being used on Superman, or even it being used a lot in the DC Universe Classics line. You know, it provides a nice sense of consistency across pretty much all the main superheroes in the line, which isn't too dissimilar from the Kenner Superpowers collection, which DC Universe Classics took heavy inspiration from. Now granted, both of these were definitely just done to save money, but hey, they looked good while saving money too. Speaking of looking good, the colors on this Superman are really great. They're a bit darker than your classic Silver Age Superman, so I'd say this is more of a Bronze Age or Modern Age era Superman. In fact, it reminds me of the artwork of the painter Alex Ross, who is my undisputed favorite comic book artist. Comparing his Superman to this one in terms of color scheme, it's pretty spot on. Still though, despite the color scheme from head to toe, this is a very, very classic Superman. His cape is a bit shorter than your usual Batman-style cape. He's got the two-pointed boots, the cape coming in right around here, of course, and it passes the biggest test for whether a Superman figure is truly classic or not. It's got the yellow S on the back of the cape. Granted, mine's a little scuffed up, but it's an older figure, so that kinda comes with this figure's age. Although, moving from the suit to the head itself, and it's a really solid classic Superman head. From the front, at least, DC Universe Classics figures kinda have a bit of a pug syndrome, where they have a really flat face. Still though, if you just look at them from head on, or just like from this kind of angle, it's fine, you know. Another detail that's really small, but I really like, is that they actually have dark blue dry brushing in the hair to bring out all the details in the sculpt, similar to how a lot of classic comic art drew Superman's hair, you know, with the little blue lines running through to signify that it's, you know, hair. But hey, this is a 2-pack, so let's see the other half of this set. And here he is, the Parasite himself. And spoiler alert, I guess, but this is one of my personal favorite DC Universe Classics figures. Even though technically it didn't start out as a DC Universe Classics, it first appeared in the predecessor line, Mattel's DC Superheroes line, as a single release. But still, this re-release in a 2-pack with Superman is pretty much the same figure. Same sculpt, same paint, same everything. Speaking of that sculpt, who boy is fittingly monstrous. Look at his neck. I mean, just look at that thing. Look at the... just look at the amount of distance between his trapezius and his shoulders. That is horrifying. He's also super veiny, and there's like a lot of stretching in his skin between his muscles. He's got tiny little legs compared to his big honking torso. And He's only got 4 fingers on each hand, with his nails painted black, which is a very nice touch. Another very nice touch, though, is the white lines throughout his entire body. Most of these are sculpted on along with being painted. That didn't have to be done, but they did it anyways. So, props to the Four Horsemen Studios. I believe they're the ones that sculpted this figure, along with, I don't know, pretty much every figure in Mattel's DC Universe Classics line. And speaking of a great job on the sculpt, look at that leech-like head. I mean, that is horrible in the best kind of way, but it's horrible. He's lacking his nose, he's got these sharp, pointy fangs, he's got his big puffy lips because he's ready to give you a kiss. And those horrible yellow eyes. This is an amazing Parasite, but I wouldn't say it's exactly a classic Parasite. I'd honestly say this is more similar to Ed McGuinness's art of Parasite, which, makes sense when you account for his, massive and cartoonish physique. But hey, enough about the fancy schmancy presentation. Let's get into the posability on these guys. Granted, there isn't much, at least by modern day standards, or even by the standards of Toy Biz Marvel Legends. But honestly, given the choice, would you rather choose that thing over a DC Universe Classics figure? Probably not. But hey, for the most part, these guys have the articulation where it counts. For example, here's Superman looking up, not too much, but it's better than the wobble Parasite gets. Granted, they both get twists side to side. Parasite just kind of looks confused. And Superman, well, he gets his usual 180 degrees around. I'm going to be very careful with the neck since, it's already broken, but I just don't want to have that happen on camera. So, I'm trying to be gentle with the head articulation on this guy. They both have shoulders that can spin around and hinge upwards, both of them cutting about 90 degrees, which is pretty solid. They both have bicep swivel, which allows for 360-degree motion, along with single-jointed elbows. Superman gets about 90 degrees, but Parasite gets a little less. What both of them have, though, is hands that can simply spin all the way around. They both have an ab crunch. Here's both of them bending forward. Parasite's bend forward is pretty much how he's always going to be posed due to, his hunchback sculpt. And here's both of their arch back. Using his head articulation, too, you can get Superman into a fairly solid flying pose. They also both have a waist swivel, which lets them spin all the way around. They both have the same strange Mattel hinge joint where they hinge forward and back, and then they split like this, which is kinda ugly. But hey, it at the very least gives them a really decent split, and a less than impressive kick forward across the board. They both have thigh cut, but it's placed very low down, which is an odd choice. Now, Parasite's, on the other hand, is actually very well hidden by the white line right here, which is right above where the cut is, which was a pretty clever choice by Mattel. Similar to the elbows, they have single-jointed knees. Superman gets a nice 90-degree bend. And Parasite isn't gonna be winning any gymnastics competitions anytime soon. And while Superman only has ankle hinge with an admittedly pretty good range, Parasite has ankle hinge and a tiny amount of pivot side to side. Admittedly, though, it's pretty small and loose, so it's kind of just more of a wobble. Still, it's pretty helpful in getting him to stand up at the very least. Moving on to figure comparisons now, and we're going to start off with the usual male and female figure comparisons for this channel. The Marvel Legends Renew Your Vows, Spider-Man, and Spinneret. And these guys scale pretty well with DC Universe Classics, which is very nice. So if you want to do some Marvel and DC crossover stuff with your action figures, these guys are probably your best bet. For a DC Trinity comparison, oh yeah, and Parasite's here too, here's the Mattel DC Multiverse Super Friends Batman, and the Mattel DC Universe Classics Wonder Woman. Both of these two look great with Superman, although I do have to admit, some custom work has been done on Batman, like a bit of repainting and a different cape, but still, they all look really nice together. And I'm going to use this as an opportunity to say I'm going to be skipping most of the regular DC Universe Classics figure comparisons, since like I said, they're pretty much all in the same body. So hey, they'll all scale well at the very least. Ain't that nice? Although I'm going to immediately break that rule to bring out the DC Universe Classics Captain Marvel, aka Shazam, since like Superman, I think he bears a lot of resemblance to Alex Ross's Shazam art. I don't know, just wanted to bring him out, and plus Superman and Shazam, Captain Marvel are pretty similar characters. Although speaking of characters really similar to Superman, here's the DC Universe Classics Ultraman from the Crime Syndicate 5-pack. I find it kind of interesting that they went with a more Silver Age-ish blue for the evil version of Superman Ultraman, but not for their most commonly re-released Superman. I don't know, I find that mildly weird. Speaking of things that are cool, here's Mongol from the DC Universe Classics line. Just like Parasite, he originated from the DC Superheroes line, and this might actually be the one from that. I don't know, I can't tell. They're pretty much the same. Still though, really cool figure, and he fittingly towers over Superman. But for someone who's both not the right size and also the exact right size at the same time, here's Mattel's DC Unlimited New 52 Darkseid. If you're looking at, the Jack Kirby Darkseid height, I'd say it's pretty accurate, but this is a New 52 Darkseid, and he was drawn way bigger than this figure is. Still though, it's a pretty solid Darkseid. But it's also been completely overshadowed by McFarlane's classic Darkseid Megafig, and man, this thing is a beaut. And the Kenner Superpowers Collection styled cape is a pretty nice touch if you're going to display him with your DC Universe Classics figures. For another big guy though, here's Doomsday by Mattel. Just like that first Darkseid we looked at, this one is also from the New 52, but he is absolutely not undersized since he was a Build-A-Fig in the Mattel DC Multiverse line. And, well, he does the part of a Build-A-Fig pretty well. I mean, look at him. But for Superman's true archenemy, here's Lex Luthor in his war suit by McFarlane Toys. Since he's in, a suit of armor, it actually does still kind of work with DC Universe Classics figures, despite the fact that he's got some serious shifty side-eye going on. But as is tradition, here's the DC Universe Classics Superman and Parasite with Hit Monkey and Goliath. I'd usually talk about the accessories here, but this 2-pack didn't really come with any, so let's move straight on to how much you can find these guys for on the aftermarket, since they are long off the shelves. I mean, Mattel doesn't even have the DC license anymore, and they certainly aren't still producing DC Universe Classics since the line ended, around 2013, 2014. And these two, loose, are actually surprisingly cheap. You can get Superman between, I'd say, $20 and $25, and pretty much same deal for Parasite. If you want to get them in box, though, that's going to run you about $50 or $60. Now, I'll let you be the judge if picking up these guys loose $20 a pop is worth it or not. But personally, I just really like these two figures. They definitely aren't as articulated as any Marvel Legends figure. Well, a couple. There are some pretty badly articulated Legends out there. But their sculpt work, mainly on Parasite, of course, is really solid and captures both characters really well. And hey, them not being too much of a hassle to get on the aftermarket, loose at least, does help a bit if you do want to pick these guys up. So docking them slightly for lacking articulation compared to nowadays, or well, even then, but now that I think about it, it kind of helped make the sculpt better. Still, lacking articulation and also no accessories, I'm going to give the DC Universe Classics Power Struggle 2-pack an 8 out of 10. A really solid buy if you like, Superman and Parasite. Especially if you like Parasite, because he rarely gets action figures, oddly enough. Which, I don't see why. He's a big purple guy that steals people's powers. Say that one 3 times fast. Awful jokes aside, I hope you all have a great day, and I hope you enjoyed that Superman trailer as much as I did. Bye-bye!